Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm a Boeing 737 pilot and a member of PMDG's tech team. 2 days ago, on the 29th of October, Robert Randazzo has posted a new update in the PMDG forums on what is currently going on behind the scenes, and I would like to summarize that one for those of you who either don't want to read or who are just not a regular visitor to the PMDG forums. Now, first of all, my apologies for being 2 days late with this. I had quite a busy flying schedule over the last couple of days, with yesterday just having me at work for 12.5 hours, but that much for it. I know you guys came here for something different. So while I'm sitting currently on the ramp here in some very nice weather conditions, I have to say, in Microsoft Flight Simulator, by the way using the default engine, I am having a little bit of time to read this one out for you. Now, I am going to make this a rather quick summary, so let's try to make this video less than 10 minutes time. Overall, I start opening by quoting the sentence from Robert Randazzo saying, "Long-time patrons of the PMDG community know that when you stop hearing from us, it means we are busy, and that means a lot of stuff pending for your enjoyment in the near future." Quote end. So, Robert starts with a little bit of general stuff, with basically saying that there have been a couple of complex changes to the 737 core logic with the arrival of the SU11 beta. And keep in mind, Sim Update 11 is supposed to be released in just about 11 days time from now, on the 11th of November 2022. So he goes on saying that SU11 brought quite a couple of significant changes to the Microsoft Flight Simulator platform, so PMDG opted to keep half the development team working with a stable market release of Sim Update 10 in order to facilitate testing, while the other half is already hard at work on the new Sim Update 11. And overall, that has been done to keep some forward progress on the Universal Flight Tablet, as well as some core function changes to the 737 and the pending 737-900 release, while also preparing to ensure forward compatibility with the updates pending to the Microsoft Flight Simulator platform. Now, Sim Update 11 seems to be the first update that has some evolutionary changes that require product level changes on PMDG's end in order to keep customers flying during the transition, and those are what has been worked on in the last couple of weeks, while also exploring some of the pending changes that Sim Update 10 brings, which will help PMDG to map out a strategy for continued product growth and capitalizing on the improvements Asobo continues to make to the platform. Now, while all of that sounds pretty dry, and in some regards also is, it does represent a true first for PMDG, as most of their development career has been on platforms that required hardly any changes, mainly thinking about Flight Simulator X, Flight Simulator 2004, but also of P3D, in terms of that P3D dropped updates much more infrequently than Microsoft is doing with Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now, Robert goes on to say that quite some of the things that PMDG asked of Asobo a year ago with the DC-6 and then with the 737 development are finally coming into the pipeline, and it is great fun to step backward and make changes to improve functionality and see the benefits of having Asobo as involved with the developer community as they are. Now, over the long run, that is going to be great fun, but it does increase PMDG's workload quite a bit, so they're adapting to change the way they manage product development with that concern in mind. Now, a new update of the 737 has just been handed to the to the beta team, and you can actually see that one on screen. But don't hold up your hopes, I'm not going to switch into the cockpit to show you stuff right now. That's going to be for a future video. Now, Robert says that this update is going to eliminate some of the nonsense issues that have been disruptive for Sim Update 11 beta users, which should improve testing feedback to Asobo from 737 users overall. Now, the new build does include, as usual, quite a lot of bug fixes and cleanup details, but the big change here is that the pending update is going to bring significant improvement in stability of the flight director in both roll and pitch axis, while also improving control logic for yaw and thrust changes. That will overall lead to greater realism in all phases of flight, as the flight director and aircraft control law are now able to work with the aggressive dynamics of the Microsoft Flight Simulator platform while still delivering a realistic flight experience for the user. Now let me quickly explain to you what that means. Basically, if you had an autopilot that would function exactly as the real 737 autopilot, that one would hardly be able to control the aircraft in Microsoft Flight Simulator due to the environment being quite a bit more dynamic in the simulator than it usually is in real life. And keep in mind, in real life, things can also get more dynamic, but in those cases the autopilot's just gonna shut off. And if you had that same shut-off logic implemented in the PMDG 737, then your autopilot would probably drip out on so many occasions that customers would just come to the PMDG forums to start complaining that the PMDG autopilot would just not work, while indeed it would just do the same thing as the real 737 would. Now, the autopilot has greatly been reworked to compensate for that. We saw the first version of it with the last PMDG update that has been released to the public, but as some of you guys have noted, there still were a couple of more issues, especially in the relation between the pitch-thrust couple, because the auto-throttle had not yet been updated, which caused the auto-throttle to make some incorrect movements, which in order led to the pitch-thrust couple causing a pitching moment, which then was hard for the flight director to counteract, because the flight director now already worked on the new logic, while the auto-throttle still had its own problems. Now, that's definitely been worked on, and to quote Robert Randazzo, these represent a huge amount of work that has been taken most of the summer, but we're really happy with the change. Quote end. Now, he goes on to say that once the beta team had the chance to sign off on these changes, they will be out for you in form of a micro update, which is anticipated to happen in the first half of the week that's just started now. So, the plane you see in the background is the new beta, so you can imagine what's going to happen the moment I start, or the moment I stop recording this. So, with that said and done, let's hop over to the next topic, which is the 737-900. So, with a lot of the focus that went into the autopilot behavior, the tablet, and the sim update 10 to 11 transition, the 900 has taken a little bit of a backlog there, and Robert goes on to apologize for that. But right now they are deep at work on the flight model and performance behaviors of the 900 and 900ER, and overall he goes on to say that he expects the 900 to go into the hands of a beta team within 2 weeks' time. However, Robert does add a word of caution there, in that he said the same thing 3 weeks ago already, so please do understand that this is a bit of a guesswork. Quote, based upon our experience with the other 737s in testing, I don't expect the 900s will remain in testing long, so there is some positive news there. Quote end. Next up, the PMDG 737s in the Microsoft Flight Simulator marketplace. Basically, on the very same day the Sim Update 10 beta updates dropped, Robert was in the process of creating builds that he would send to Microsoft to add into the marketplace. However, he forgot to disable the beta intake, which caused quite some chaos in the building process, resulting in a reinstallation of Microsoft Flight Simulator, which is always fun, which then immediately updated itself to Sim Update 10, because, yes, quote, dummy, quote end, forgot to delete the beta tag from his Steam account before reinstalling. So while there has been a little bit of struggle going on in the background, to call it that way, Robert does hope to make that push next week. Now, he wrote that one Saturday last week, so I guess that means the week that's just started on the 31st of October 22, when I'm recording this one. Finally, there is a small update on the 777 as well, in that Robert is saying that it is beginning to accelerate nicely and does look spectacular. Would be a mild understatement. However, he's not prepared yet to give you too much information, because there are still some interesting decisions about product release flow and how all that will work to be made. But suffice to say that PMDG's experience with the 737 line is coming to play here, and things are going well. With that, the new update is concluded. Now, as promised, I'm going to deliver a separate video in which I will show you all the changes that have been made to the 737 with the upcoming release by the time that the new update has been out. So for now, I would like to thank you very much for watching. Hope that you have enjoyed this one, and do let me know in the comments below if you appreciate me covering all those small updates for those of you who are just too lazy or just don't have the time to actually read them on PMDG's forums. Now, if you do want to support the channel, then click that subscribe button, like the video, and leave a comment. And finally, if you really love what I am doing, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me a Coffee link that you can find in the video description below, as that is what keeps the channel running. If you do want to become a permanent supporter, you can do so through the Patreon link down there. But for now, thank you very much for watching. I hope that you enjoy flying the new Phoenix update, the 737, and whatever other planes you might be flying these days. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope to see you all again in a live stream very soon.